Howdy, everyone. Thank you for listening to our presentation, Does the Adoption of Virtual Technology Increase Student Contentious Topics Learning? I am Robert Strong, an associate professor at Texas A&M University, and I'd like to introduce my graduate student that works with me, John Mark Palmer III. We're both in the Department of Agricultural Leadership, Education, and Communications, and excited to be with you today to share a little piece of our study and what we have going on with virtual reality in our department. So let's get started. So to begin with our introduction, we all know about the 2050 food challenge, that there'll be almost 10 billion people on our planet in approximately 29 years. And our ability to train the next generation of social scientists, practitioners, researchers, academics, teachers, extension agents, the general public is really critical as we inform them of not just this issue that is coming, but also how to prepare for that and also how to develop solutions for the 2050 challenge. Contentious topics are naturally occurring in our environment. If we think of just the past year and the contentious topics that we've had, besides the pandemic, we could talk about the trade war with China. We can also talk about water issues. We could talk about localized food security issues, whether you're in rural areas, urban areas in the United States, or those particular issues related to food security around the world. Human trafficking is a contentious topic. There's always contentious topics that underpin our society in general. And so what we attempted to do was to try to learn a particular way that we could better teach contentious topics to our students in order for them to be more successful post-graduation. Next, we have here the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations. Those 17 development goals also deal with contentious topics that people have not just in the U.S. but around the world. As you all know, just based in the past year, there's been an enhanced emphasis on online or distance, some would say cyber learning, and how we better instruct or prepare students post-graduation with our virtual learning environments to increase student outcomes in our classes. And lastly, here we want to talk about postgraduate success and the role that it plays on not just student success, but also students' positive impact in communities around the U.S. and around the world. And so what we attempted to do was take these pillars in mind and better understanding how we could utilize virtual reality in education, particularly in agricultural sciences, to better prepare our students for postgraduate success working with contentious topics. And so a little bit about virtual reality. If you don't know much about virtual reality, it is being used more and more to disseminate information, not only for convenience like gaming systems that you see in media all the time, but being used a lot more for specific educational attainment for target audiences. Virtual reality is also used in corporate worlds to reduce training costs in an HR realm. And instead of having participants fly in or travel to a location, they could gather or learn a particular content virtually through VR headsets. Also, virtual reality allows instructors to simulate practical circumstances, but in that virtual environment at someone's on time, on place, at their convenience. Those simulated experiences could be something related to maintenance. It could be something related to being immersed into a natural environment that they could not get to, or the virtual reality technology enables them to get there quicker. But the simulation of those experiences is an advantage for VR context. Here recently, particularly in the past year, you've seen a lot more emphasis and opportunities on virtual field trips or virtual experiences in museums around the world. Even virtual safaris are an example, and also many other examples where companies and organizations are using virtual reality to get their product or their service to clientele. And lastly, the colleges of engineering across the U.S. have been utilizing virtual reality for a while in their teaching and development of students for postgraduate success, either in the corporate or nonprofit world. Colleges of agriculture like ourselves, we're a little bit slower to the game than they are, but as you'll see in a moment, we are catching up rather quickly. The theoretical framework that we used for our respective study was looking at this through the lens of Bandura's social cognitive theory and trying to understand how social cognitive and personality factors play into students' perspectives of using virtual reality in agricultural sciences. The purpose of our study was to utilize Kirkpatrick's evaluation model, specifically level 1 reactions and level 2 learning, to better understand how students, number one, reacted to using virtual reality in a course, and also level 2 to understand how they learned and to what extent the content through virtual reality. So in our study, our purpose and objectives solely focused on level 1 reactions and level 2 learning. Because of the nature of the study and the course, we were unable to achieve or get to level 3 and level 4. Based upon those take quite a bit longer amount of time to address. So the methodology of our respective study, this was an experimental design where we examined 2 agricultural leadership classes, students in those classes. The classes were the same, so the only difference was the sections. One section, the treatment group, consisted of 44 students in that respective section of that class. The control group was the second section of that same class, and 32 students were involved in that respective course. The treatment group was taught a lesson on food security and climate change as contentious topics, utilizing virtual reality as a dissemination tool. The control group had the exact same lesson, except they were not taught that lesson with virtual reality. They were taught that lesson the traditional ways of PowerPoints and video case studies. So that's our treatment and our control. What we found in the treatment group, there was a significant difference in reactions, what Kirkpatrick says, about food security than the control group, and the effect size was large, Cohen's d being 0.88. Secondly, the treatment group reported a significant difference in learning respective to food access than the control, and the effect size there was large also. Thirdly, in regards to food security, there was a significant difference in the improved knowledge of student food security availability from participating in the virtual reality module versus the control group learning conventionally. And in this case, the effect size was medium, Cohen's d of 0.55. In terms of climate change, the treatment group did report a significant difference in reactions as compared to the control. The effect size was medium. You see that there. Secondly, the control group reported a significant difference in learning respective to climate change than the control. The effect size was small. And lastly, a significant difference resulted in enhanced student knowledge of climate's effect on agriculture from the virtual reality module, and the effect size was small. So what does all of this mean? Well, the effect size of the reactions indicated that students felt more positive about VR versus studying the traditional ways of the contentious topics of food security and climate change. 2, the treatment group results respective to learning suggested students improve their contentious topics knowledge through the curricula disseminated from the virtual reality module or the intervention. Thirdly, content development is key to align with the learning objectives and to maximize opportunities to achieve student learning outcomes. In agricultural sciences, though newer to this innovation versus engineering sciences, we are making leaps in this area. And lastly, as the technology improves and access increases, particularly with Generation Z, virtual reality can be used as an approach to gauge students, improve learning, and better prepare students working with contentious topics post-graduation. Virtual reality technology also, we think, can improve student learning, but is only as good as the efficacy of the instructor and the alignment with a specific learning objective. Next, a future study, we believe, will include more inquiries respective to student learning and application of knowledge. So in our study, we had a treatment and control of 44 and 32 in each group, and we'd like to see that much larger sections of students. And lastly, the student potential of virtual cyber sickness, we think, should be examined further in the agricultural sciences curricula to understand the role cybersickness plays in student learning and adoption. Thank you.